What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast number 395. And I apologize once again for not doing, I believe, Thursday's episode. Yeah. I ended up having stomach problems again. So I was just like, let me just chill out. And then a lot of stuff was happening. Of course, as you guys know, 50 is just on the loose, basically dissing everybody. People were dissing him. He's responding, so on and so forth. So a lot was happening, and I had to kind of keep up on social media because, just too much stuff happening. And on top of that, there is a lot of good news happening with Diverse Mentality behind the scenes that I can't, talk about. Also, the last episode I talked about Eminem potentially being on that No One Told Us record, and it got quoted, and everybody reported on it. And I just want to say, that to me was AI. I was fake. I never said anything. I don't know what's going on. Don't listen to me, right? I have no idea what I'm talking about. Who knows, right? I'm a nobody. Anyways, let's get into a lot, man. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to follow up with when it comes to lawsuits, when it comes to, just regular things that we've talked about on the podcast. We're going to do follow-ups to that. I keep saying a lot. I hate that about myself right now. I'm saying it way too much. And then we're going to talk about Papoose allegedly dissing me. When Papoose released that Agent Provocateur diss track, people started tagging me because he had some lines talking about YouTubers dick sucking. They'll suck his dick through his pants, whatever the fuck they said. And a lot of people tagged me because I am the biggest YouTuber that supports 50 Cent. That is a clear supporter of 50 Cent. I really don't know anybody else on my level in terms of followers and subscribers and viewers and all this who is a clear 50 fan. There's really nobody that I can think of that you can point to that is like a hard, you could say, hey, this is a 50 fan. So people were tagging me in it back and forth and just saying, hey, this is you, he's dissing you. So I was like, all right. At the end of the day, I am, quote unquote, a YouTuber, even though I run a media company with Diverse Mentality, which is now a media company, which I'm proud to say is a media company. Even though I'm a YouTuber as well, it seems like he was dissing YouTubers in general, but with me being the biggest one supporting 50, the shot is clearly towards me on that end. And the funny thing about it is, like, people are like, bro, he don't even know you, this and that. Meanwhile, I got 50 responding to me, posting my stuff. Like, if 50 knows who I am, and that guy's a whole different tier and level than Papoose, then for sure Papoose has seen, the things that I've said or posted. And I never really talk about Papoose because Papoose is a nobody. Let's just be honest here. And I'm going to break that down when I respond to him. You guys are going to see how much of a nobody this person is. And I'm going to completely flame this guy because this guy is so stupid. Like, genuinely dumb. So I can't wait to get into that later in the podcast. But let's get into the news and what's been happening, because there's a lot that's been happening. First, 50 released an Untitled track. And when he released this track, he's been like teasing at this thing that he calls the algorithm, right? So on Instagram, he posted a photo of something that looks like the algorithm, basically, whatever, the algorithm is like this AI computer, the algorithm. The algorithm is, hey, when you get pushed in the algorithm, you get a lot of views. And that's basically what 50's saying. I am the algorithm, that you have to mention me to get views, right? So he posted this image, and then the song is playing. And in the caption, he said, music Untitled. I'd fuck these guys up if they jump me in real life. A bunch of punks. The algorithm is coming. And he says, Hit Boy on the beat 20 years ago. Now, I commented on this and said, alternate version to your old track, Business Minds, asking a question. Because when you listen to the track, the beat is exactly the same as Business Minds from his 2012 mixtape 5 Murdered by Numbers that dropped on his birthday in 2012. And the track is titled Business Minds with Hayes. The original different version is from Hayes. It's a track called Street Entrepreneur. And when you listen to 50's verses and Hayes' verses, it's the same type of verses that he has. Hayes essentially gave him a reference track with some of the bars being written by him, and 50 kind of altered them. So I don't know if that's ghostwriting. I don't know. That's a whole different conversation. But 50 said, he responded to my comment and said, let me see what he actually said, because I have it on here. I can't go through it on the Instagram. He said, to me, he said, this was the original version. I have over 80 something songs I wrote then. So that's very dope, because for him to reveal that he has 80 something records that he wrote back then in 2012, that makes sense, because Street King Immortal was supposed to come out around that time. So 50 was in the booth, working on Street King Immortal, which I wish he would release. I wish he would just take those records that was supposed to be on Street King Immortal, if there was a final version of that album, release the Champions record with Eminem and whatever other records that you had for Street King Immortal, and just drop it for free for the fans. That would be really cool. Even if we're not getting new music, at least that would be really nice, right? So 50 confirmed that, hey, this is the original version of the track, because I already immediately off the rip noticed this is Business Minds with Hayes off the rip. And a true 50 fan that's listened to his music would know that. So that was really cool. I really appreciated, just 50 dropping music, regardless if it's old, new, anything that's 50 music we haven't had in a really long time. So I just wanted to talk about that. I really appreciate it, and shout out to 50. Updates on one of Young Dolph's people that were convicted in the murder trying to appeal, their sentencing. So let's go over this. One of the 3 men in Young Dolph murder case received a life-altering update. Justin Johnson is going to be staying in prison for life after the 4 issues he raised from his trial were all denied. Per Fox 13 Memphis, the Tennessee Court of Criminals Appeals and Judge Matthew J. Willison affirmed the trial's court's 2024 conviction. Johnson was convicted of premeditated first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The first of the 4 issues Johnson argued was in regard to there being sufficient evidence for the jury to convict him. The appeals court ruled there was, using footage of Young Dolph's murder, a long list of cell phone records and surveillance video detailing Johnson's movements before and after the shooting were also used against him. Moreover, the jury brought forth the testimony of Johnson's admitted accomplice, Cornelius Smith. The second discussion revolved around the trial's judge's decision to allow jury members to see 2 photos of the Memphis rapper's body. That too was not ruled in Johnson's favor. The appeals court said both were allowable and that it did not sway the jury's decision. Johnson's third issue in his appeal was him having to sit behind his attorneys instead of being with them. The reason at the time for ruling was for safety concerns due to the nature of the case. Once again, the appeals court was in agreement with the trial's court rule. Last was comment from a prosecutor during the closing arguments about the decision to not have certain witnesses testify. The Court of Appeals said that Johnson's reps didn't objectify to comment during the trial. Moreover, they only did so afterwards, effectively making this a moot issue. The courts of appeals said the evidence of the defendant's guilt was overwhelming and the prosecutor's comments were brief. This update follows a February report on Cornelius Smith's situation. He was working with prosecutors on finalizing a plea deal last month. He was expected to plead guilty with that in mind, but the hearing for it now is March 30th, so things could be smoothed out. It's more so for the Tennessee Department of Corrections so that they know they will house him, so they know where they will house him going forward. So, yeah, he had 4 of those reasons, but they're all bullshit reasons. I mean, you did it. It's clear as day. There's no, there's a lot of even street stuff that's tied to this that clear as day show Justin Johnson as the murderer. That's the guy that was the rapper Straight Drop or whatever the fuck his name is. Regardless, all pieces of shit, all deserve life in prison. Fuck them all. Murdering people like this over, I think what was the payment amount? It was like $2,500, some dumb shit that even if you were getting paid $250 million to murder somebody, like, you're going to hell at the end of the day. That money isn't going to do anything. Your soul, your conscience, your spirit is not going to be able to live with that shit. Regardless, I can go on a whole rant about that. I'm glad that there's no appeals or nothing that have been approved. So fuck them. And that's the update on that. Update on 6ix9ine's people that did the house invasion. The third and final suspect is arrested. So let's go over this. In November of last year, multiple masked gunmen broke into 6ix9ine's Florida home. They stole several of the rapper's belongings and even held his mother hostage. The following month, police arrested one of the suspects, Pedro Rodriguez. He was charged with home invasion robbery with a firearm, false imprisonment, grand theft, and possession of marijuana with intent to sell. In February, a second suspect named Sergio Andrea was arrested. He was charged with home invasion robbery with a firearm, false imprisonment, and grand theft. Now, a third suspect has been arrested per CBS 12. The suspect in question is 19-year-old Miguel Kendall Garcia. Reportedly, investigators recovered text messages that Rodriguez and Andrea allegedly exchanged before the robbery. In them, they allegedly went over their plan, even questioning whether or not it would be too much for Garcia to handle. Investigators also searched Rodriguez's apartment, where they found a bin full of stolen goods. This included various luxury bags that belonged to 6ix9ine's girlfriend. They also found a gun that was allegedly used during the robbery. Shortly after the ordeal, 6ix9ine took to social media to call out these responsible. Yesterday, they allowed me to leave for work. He said at the time, people saw that I was on live stream with Jack Doherty. They took that opportunity to fucking do some pussy shit. So, yeah, I remember him talking about that. But, yeah, they arrested, I think, all 3 of the suspects. I don't know if there was 4. It looked like there was 3 only at the time, but I think that's it for this home invasion thing. They can finally put a close to it. These people can get, not like officially put a close to it, but these people can get, go through their trial, get sentenced and all that. So that's the update on that. Updates on Chad Hugo's lawsuit towards Pharrell. Let's go over this. Chad Hugo kicked off 2026 by filing a $1 million lawsuit against his former collaborator, Pharrell. In it, he accuses the Virginia Beach-born performer of financial impropriety. Allegedly, he has not received his appropriate share of royalties in connection with the Neptunes and Nerds album sales and released music, as well as distributions from touring income and various merchandising deals. Pharrell Williams engaged in self-dealing concealed material information and diverted revenues owed to plaintiff. Hugo's attorney, Brent J. Lehman, alleged such willful and fraudulent and malicious conduct warrants the imposition of punitive damages. Now, Forbes reports that Hugo has expanded his lawsuit, adding new claims related to production credits and royalties. He accuses Pharrell of failing to properly credit him on 8 different songs produced in 2022. The songs includes Rosalia's, a bunch of records, man. Lotto's, Real One, yeah. Hugo also alleges that he was a principal composer, arranger, multi-instrumentalist, and producer responsible for programming, instrumentation, and overall sound design, while defendant Williams more frequently appeared as the public-facing member of the duo. Hugo's amendment has the potential to pose an issue, as a federal court could determine that his claims fall outside the 3-year statute of limitations under the U.S. Copyright Act. This could result in a dismissal. Pharrell's team responded to Hugo's initial filing in a statement in January. At the time, they confirmed that a standard accounting review is already in progress. So yeah, they did talk about like, hey, we recognize this lawsuit. We're going to go over the accounting and see what went wrong. So they are like acknowledging to a certain extent that, not that they're wrong and they didn't pay him, but that, hey, let's see if you actually got your full payment. Which is a great way, that's the best way to handle a situation. So all this is just really an update that, hey, he feels that there are certain things that he wasn't credited on 8 songs. So that's it. It's just an update of adding more music that he feels he should get paid for. So we'll see what happens moving forward, but I hope they get this resolved, because these two as a duo was really, really nice. Updates on Fat Joe's former Hypeman suing him. So let's go over this. Fat Joe has picked up a major win in court amid his ongoing legal battle with former Hypeman Terrence T.A. Dixon. According to an exclusive report from All Hip Hop, federal judge recently ruled that Fat Joe's defamation lawsuit against Dixon and attorney Tyrone Blackburn can move forward, rejecting efforts to have the case dismissed. The decision keeps alive Joe's claims that the pair spread damaging and false allegations about him online. The only part of Joe's lawsuit that did not survive the ruling was a separate claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Judge Jennifer L. Rochon determined that the allegation overlapped too heavily with the defamation claims and lacked enough specific detail to stand on its own. Still, the ruling largely favors the Bronx rapper, whose legal team argues he became the target of a coordinated smear campaign after his professional relationship with Dixon fell apart. The dispute dates back to last June, when Dixon filed a $20 million lawsuit accusing the Bronx rapper, born Joseph Cartanega, of multiple forms of alleged misconduct. In the filing, Dixon claimed he witnessed Fat Joe take part in illegal activity. Some of those included accusations involving minors and intimidation tactics. He also alleged that Joe withheld per diem payments while touring and used that money to cover personal tax debt. So yeah, we heard this lawsuit and stuff, so it's a nice win for Fat Joe, and we'll keep our eyes posted to see if anything happens moving forward with this. Another update, and this is with a Diddy lawsuit, so let's go over this. Diddy is joining C.J. Wallace in taking a loss in court over a lawsuit brought forth by music producer Jonathan Hay. The disgraced mogul has been trying to dismiss this legal filing sent in July of 2025, accusing him and Wallace, Biggie's son, of sexual assault. However, his motion was denied by Judge Michael E. Whitaker, Radar Online confirmed. The New York rapper filed a request for demurrer, which means that he argued Hay failed to state facts sufficient, consistent, constitute causes of action and uncertainty. Judge Whitaker didn't side with Sean Diddy Combs, meaning this case will see trial. The court overrules the Combs defendant's demurrer in its entirety. Further, the court denies that Combs defendant's motion to strike in its entirety. As we stated earlier, Wallace also suffered a major loss as all of his arguments were tossed aside. That update surfaced last month, and he was ordered to respond to the complaint a week after it was reported. Yeah, see what I'm saying? Some of these lawsuits are going to hold weight. Some of these lawsuits aren't. Like, he's got like 70 more of these that Diddy has to go through. So that's the update for this one, and we'll see what happens with that. Another update, and this is Keefe D with the Tupac thing. So let's go over this. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis has faced a lot of hurdles in his murder trial for allegedly orchestrating the death of Tupac Shakur, but his latest update might be one of his most distressing yet. According to KLAS, Davis's lawyer, Robert Dravoskich, withdrew from the case on Tuesday, March 10th over alleged retainer issues. This points towards a likely delay. This means that both parties had a disagreement when it comes to wages, fees, and budgets. Although the specifics are unclear, in any case, Judge Carly Kearney reportedly approved the decision and scheduled a hearing to find new legal representation for March 31st. Following this update, KPD has now reportedly changed lawyers twice since his arrest in September of 2023. His previous attorneys, Carl Arnold and Michael Pendulo, the latter of which worked with Dravoski, cited his jail fight at the Clark County Detention Center as one of the reasons for the decisions. For those unaware, Davis faces accusations of orchestrating the murder of Tupac Shakur and bragging about it via various media items. He and his defense team claim that the accusations are false and built on exaggerated and non-factual admissions. There you go. So he lost another lawyer. And I think here's the issue with this shit, right, is these things take forever. This guy's been locked up since September of 2023. Like, of course, he's going to go through lawyers because that's going to take a lot of money to be paying that stuff. You know, you got to pay these lawyers to deal with all this bullshit. The longer it takes that you're locked up, the more money that you're going to be coughing up. And Keefe D probably doesn't have that kind of money. And that's how they kind of screw you in the judicial system, because as time goes on, if you don't have the money, what ends up happening is you just get appointed a lawyer. And usually those are the worst because they're free and they usually, for the most part, barely win cases. Free is usually not the best result. To get the best result, you got to pay lots of money. And that's really with anything, especially in America. So that's the update on that. Another update with another lawsuit, and this one involves 50 and his ex-baby mama. So let's go over this. 50 Cent isn't juggling many rap beefs right now. Isn't just juggling many rap beefs right now, but he also has a long court battle to prepare for regarding his ex-girlfriend and the mother of his son, Marquise Jackson, Shaniqua Tompkins, after a judge dismissed a default judgment against her in his favor in their life rights legal battle. He took the next step to win out in the end. According to an exclusive All Hip Hop report, the G-Unit mogul filed a notice of appeal in New York I can't even say these words. Appellate court seeking to reverse Justin Roberts and R's ruling. Reed blocked his attempt to win this case by default as 50's team claimed that Tompkins missed the deadline to properly respond to this suit. The judge found that she had a legitimate reason to miss and a legitimate defense to argue for. Judge Reed outlined 20 days for Tompkins to respond, reportedly scheduling a preliminary conference for May 5th of this year. She claimed that she never lived at the addresses that 50's team tried to serve her at. Also, Shaniqua Tompkins alleged that she only learned about the lawsuit against her upon receiving calls from reporters. As such, Judge Reed ruled that the G-Unit books didn't show they properly served her. Their appeal in response seeks to reverse the entire decision, providing the default judgment and speeding up a court-ordered injunction. Yeah, man, if she's got proof that she wasn't properly served, then, hey, man, 50 and his team doesn't have a point in this, but who knows? Maybe they have to prove that really well. So that's the update on that. On the last podcast episode, I talked about Ebro saying that Drake has no classics. And I mentioned that, For the general public, Drake's one classic is Take Care. That's the one that most people point to. You know, some people consider Nothing Was the Same. Some people consider So Far Gone, the mixtape. And that's usually the gist of classics that people consider, you know, a classic. Me personally, I don't think Drake has any classics. I think he has albums that are very, very close to classics. But my standard for classics is like through the roof. My classic standard is basically every single song has to be good. I can't skip through a single song. I have to love the album top to bottom, which is very hard. Very, very hard to do. Other people have different standards of classics where, you know, if they feel like it impacted their lives and they listen to it often, it's a classic to them. Well, Ebro said Drake has no classics, basically. Got a bunch of backlash, and now Ebro has responded to that backlash. And this response is trash. I'm surprised Ebro will still have a job after this. I would not be surprised if Apple just kind of kicks him out of Apple, because this is super disrespectful. And I'm going to get into that reason why after we play this clip.
Call me old school, call me a hater and all that. But that's why in hip hop there has always been gatekeepers, because some of y'all don't deserve a fucking opinion. Because you haven't been doing this professionally, consuming, playing, and critiquing hip hop as your life. You're just a fan. And we love you. You're just a consumer. You're a customer, as we call them. That's why sometimes your opinion, customer, doesn't fucking count, because you don't fucking do this for real. And that's why when people who do this for real get around and they start looking at the nuances of what an album actually is and what it should mean and what the person is saying through the album and the picture that it's painting and the lyrical breakdown and them being able to stay on topic and who the producers are and what it means and what it serves in time and all of these things. When you critique complete bodies of work, not just collections of great songs, that's when you get into like what is a classic album in general and a classic hip hop album.
This is the problem, right? And I have an audience, right? I have, just on Facebook, we just did 70 million, last month in views. In general, I do pretty good views. I feel like I have a good audience. I feel like people respect my opinion for the most part. I feel like, I have a voice to a certain extent in hip hop, right? But never for 1 second did I ever think in my head that my voice is better than someone else's. Meaning, yeah, I might have more influence if I say something because it goes out to more ears and more people hear what I got to say. But my opinion isn't better than someone else's because it's just my opinion. I'm one person. Everybody has an opinion at the end of the day. I don't care if you're a consumer, if you're a content creator, if you're a fucking radio personality like Ebro, if you've been doing this for 20 years, 5 years, if you're not doing it professionally, at the end of the day, we all have opinions on music. I get what Ebro's saying is, you got to be in this business and you got to like look into an album and kind of figure out, who's the producer, who's this, the storytelling. Like, I get that, very analytical deep dive into an album. But at the end of the day, you can deep dive and talk about all the shit that you want to talk about of an album being a classic to you. At the end of the day, it's still just your fucking opinion. That's really all music is someone's opinion at the end of the day. That's it. Now, could there be more people that have an opinion that like an album? Generally, yeah. Let's just say there's 100 million people that love hip hop, right? Every day. They consume it every day. They know the ins and outs of it. Let's just say that. Let's just say 70 million people think Drake's Take Care is a classic. Then yeah, that's majority of the people think it's a classic, but there's still 30 million people that don't think it's a classic, which is their opinion. Now, the majority thinks it's a classic. So usually if the majority thinks it's a classic, in general, it's considered a classic in general. But at the end of the day, my opinion on it versus your opinion, it's just opinions at the end of the day. You're not better, Ebro, because you've been working this job and doing this and you get to look at little breakdowns. Dude, it's not that fucking serious. It's music at the end of the day. Anybody who looks at it that serious and takes their opinion that serious and thinks their opinion is above other people is ridiculous. Now there is no more gatekeepers, and that's kind of a good thing and a bad thing, right? The good thing is a lot more people can make their music. The bad thing is the quality control isn't there. But at the end of the day, you know, it's like, yeah, like here's the thing, right? If you hear an upcoming artist, they're offbeat, they have no flow, voice is not there, like you can just, there's certain things that you can just tell is bad. Like very, very clear. Like one time I heard, like literally just, I think it was today or yesterday, somebody commented and it was like disrespecting an artist on their song. And it said something that really intrigued me to click on this person's profile. And they were releasing their own music. And it was horrible. Like offbeat, production's bad, no mix and mastering. Like that is clear bad, you know, bad music. Like that's clear. Like there's no, if you don't even mix and master your music, like you're not even taking your music career seriously. That's the least you could do. And then if you're offbeat and you're, you know, not rhyming properly and the rhymes are very basic, like very, very basic, like cat, hat, like fucking Dr. Seuss rhymes, you know, like objectively, majority of people, 99% of people say that's bad. You know, like that's not the debate here. It's about like music that, you know, it's on delivery, on flow. The style is just something that you do not like. Like, for example, I do not like Playboi Carti. I think that music is bad. I think he just sucks. But he legitimately has a huge fan base that loves him. So who am I to say, because I have a platform, that, hey, my opinion outweighs everybody. Fuck everybody. It's just me. I have a platform and you don't. So fuck you guys. Like that's so, you know, like I'm surprised Apple Music's not going to get backlash for this. Like I'm surprised that nothing is, you know, kind of taken off on that. Ebro has this like, talking like that, you think you have this like superior complex to people. Bro, you're just a radio personality. Yeah, have you been in this long time? Yes, I salute it, I respect it, but like it doesn't matter, bro. At the end of the day, you're one person with one opinion. And it's unfortunate that you push certain narratives to not make it clear you're a fan of certain artists. You know, just make it very clear, hey, I'm a Jay-Z stan. I love Jay-Z. He's my favorite. And clearly I am biased towards Jay-Z if I say anything that, you know, if Drake's been beefing with Jay-Z or 50's been beefing with Jay-Z or anybody's been beefing with Jay-Z, I don't really like them and I'm going to shit on them subliminally. You know, at least with me, you know where my quote-unquote bias is at, right? You know I'm on the 50 Eminem shady side. And, hey, I have my bias there to a certain extent, yeah. But I feel like I'm pretty fair. And I'm going to be fair a little bit later when it comes to 50 and Young Buck, of them going back and forth. So I'm pretty fair. You know, I said the 50 and Max B record, not really feeling it. It is what it is. I like the No One Told Us with Leon Thomas. And that recent 50 leak, pretty good as well. I enjoy that as well. But that's it. I'm not sitting here and saying, oh, everything 50 drops is fire. Every album he's dropped is a classic. I've never said that. That's a clear bias. That's clear, like you're just really, really liking this artist way too much. You know, because no artist has every single album that drops as a classic. No artist. Regardless, I just want to mention this because people with this type of mentality, because they have a platform, they think that their opinion is better than other people, is a terrible mentality to have. It's garbage. Like I said, I have a platform. I got viewers. I got people listening to me. I got people that I could easily, you know, whenever I speak on the mic, it influences people to a certain extent, right? It can sway people certain ways. But that doesn't mean that my opinion is better than yours. Does it weigh sometimes a little bit more because I can kind of influence more of people's, I can kind of sway people? Yeah, I mean, it does weigh, it does have more weight to it, but does it make it better? Does it make it, am I better than people because I have a platform? No, my opinion is just one opinion at the end of the day. So that was my take on it. And yeah, I disagree heavily with Ebro on this. Let's get into this 50 Cent versus Maino beef. 50 dropped an AI video that somebody had created and he reposted it on his page. And in the AI video, it's clear as day that it's a diss towards the Let's Rap About It podcast. I initially thought it wasn't. I mean, there's not really many bars on there that look like it's a diss record towards them. But in the beginning, it says, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And then you don't even count, you know? So makes sense. There's 4 of them. Let's Rap About It podcast. So, and Jim Jones and 50 have beef, as well as Max B hates Jim Jones. So, it makes sense for 50 and Max B to be in that together. But 50 dropped that AI video and said, y'all thought I was talking about the Cosbys. I'll deal with Bill later. I am the algorithm. And here he's basically dissing T.I., calling him Bill Cosby because of the sexual assault allegations. Bill Cosby, used to pop pills in women's drinks and, do whatever bad things to them when they were knocked out because of the pill. So he's basically tying that to T.I. with the sexual assault allegations, right? So in the caption, he's even disrespecting T.I. But in the video, it starts out saying, fuck you, and it shows, Maino, it says, fuck you, it shows Fabolous, it says, fuck you, and then it shows Jim Jones, and then you don't even count, and it shows Dave East. And then throughout the video with 50's bars, it's like Jim Jones snitching, Maino getting shanked while he's getting a haircut, which is his scar that he has. So yeah, this basically the video is, an AI video dissing all 4 of them, right? Maino saw the video and immediately responded, and he dropped a diss track titled Bleed Like Us, and he said, A50, I was always the first one out the car with that blue Ford, spinned the block. Bleed just like us. I'm going to be honest with you. This diss track is straight up terrible. Just terrible. And this is the thing, man. With these guys and these diss tracks is a lot of these artists that 50's beefing with are legitimately like just washed up musically. They haven't had any motion musically. And you could say the same thing about 50, right? He hasn't had any hit record in a long time, but at least 50, he'll drop a record here and there and he'll do pretty decent views. He dropped Powder, Respect off the Power TV show. It did 20 million views on YouTube. It's pretty good. For 50 standards, obviously, he's got videos that have done 400, 500, a billion, 2 billion. He's got videos that have done a lot of views, but in this time when 50's way past his prime, doing 20 million on a video is not bad. Doing 5 million, not bad. But these guys, those legitimately drop music and barely crack 100,000 views on whatever that they released. But Maino dropped Bleed Like Us. And there's nothing in these diss tracks as well that makes these diss tracks memorable. The beats are bland for the most part. And the disses are legitimately the same thing everybody else has been saying. Oh, 50, you only go after black people. You don't have to go after white people. Oh, you're false. You lied about getting shot 9 times. You're not this real gangster, which everybody's talked about, from T.I. to basically everybody you can think of. Fabolous, Papoose. Everything's being regurgitated the same thing. Only the white kids in the burbs thought you was gangsta. Basically just gimmicks. You're just a product of lies, strong marketing. Always seen a bitch in your eyes. You're a comedian. You never took a life. You never took a life. All this stuff, right? All this stuff doesn't really matter. It's the same bars. The song is very forgettable. The same shit with Papoose. Very forgettable. He's got a few bars in there that are cool that I really respect, but other than that beat is horrendous, and I'll talk about that later on in the podcast. But yeah, so this is what happened. Maino responded with the diss track. Everybody moved the fuck on, and that's the best views that Maino's gotten his music in a long time. So that's the story of that. And we'll see what happens. Maybe Fabolous actually gets out of retirement and decides to cook 50, because if he did that, that would be very interesting. That I would actually tune into, because the only people that have dissed 50 that has been good so far is the Fabolous diss, his verse, and T.I.'s The Right One. That's the best diss track. Those are the 2 that have been the most interesting. Everybody else has been ass, and even the multiple T.I. diss records after that were horrible. T.I.'s Sons, I could give 2 fucks about, and a lot of you won't give 2 fucks about them. In about a year, nobody's going to care about those 2 guys rapping. I'll be honest with you guys. That's just the reality situation. If you still are streaming Damani and King's music a year from now, and you can prove it, I will genuinely be surprised. Then yeah, maybe people actually are fans of this guy, these 2 kids. But for the most part, nobody cares about those 2 because they only care right now because of the beef. But that's the update on 50 and the Let's Rap About It, trolling them. This was interesting. So Gunplay has been doing a promo run for his upcoming project, his music that's coming out. And he's been keeping it real, man. Anything that he's been asked about, he's been answering questions about. And he talked about the G-Unit chain incident, and actually gave 50 to a certain extent props in that. And One thing that he's revealed is that his relationship with Rick Ross isn't good anymore. He felt like Rick Ross played him, that he kept giving hit records to Rick Ross, and Rick Ross wasn't taking the time to promote them. So this is an interesting turn of events because Gunplay was the one that was, the one jumped by 50 and his crew and had the MMG chain stolen. And Gunplay was the one that was willing to take on anything on the grounds for Ross. But that relationship has been strained. So let's go over what Gunplay says, and then Rick Ross responds to what Gunplay said.
When it was Ross' turn and we was on the road and we was doing everything, and then when everybody was a group effort. When it was Gunplay's turn, it was crickets. You see what I'm saying? So it's like it was hard for me. What you want me to do? Nobody's. It's like I got hit records. Nobody's giving me a budget. Nobody's doing nothing. So what you want me to fucking do?
And not laughing at my little bro situation, because I got nothing but love for him, but the situation you talking about, saying wasn't no budgets or nothing like that, the distributor had done dropped you. They ain't want nothing to do with you. MMG just ain't give you the bad news. We told you just keep working, just keep grinding. Don't stop, don't quit. Yeah, that's how it goes. When they don't want to spend no money on you, ain't no more budgets. You ain't have a manager or none of that, so they ain't tell you. And I ain't want to break your heart. I want you to keep hustling, nigga. I always say you one record from being on top.
As you hear on both sides, Ross said, hey, that's not my problem. The label won't give you the budget, and that's what it is. Of course, deflecting blame, as all artists do whenever they get accused of not properly doing their due diligence and justice. Gunplay, obviously you heard his side of, hey, I kept delivering hit records. They had momentum, but for some reason, I just wasn't getting the money. And then and I watched the full interview, and Gunplay was saying whenever he would ask Ross what is going on, he would point the finger and say, go ask, Def Jam, the record label. And then when he would go to ask stuff at Def Jam, they would say, hey, go ask Rick Ross what's going on. So basically, people would just be deflecting blame on each other. And what that does is that creates confusion. And once you're confused to that extent, you eventually give up. And that's what happens really in regular social media and regular news, is if there's a fact that comes out about something, let's just say a health fact, right? They will, in order for you to not go the right path, information will just come out that will refute that health fact, and then have you just throwing your hands up and saying, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I want to do, right? Because the best route to get people to not actually do anything or have any actions towards something is to create confusion, because most people just throw their hands up and say, fuck it. And that's basically what happened in this Gunplay situation. Is Gunplay was confused as to how he was delivering these great songs that had some good momentum. And as he was trying to get down to the answers, he just kept getting, pushed around back and forth with Ross and Def Jam, the label. So in these situations, I don't know. I've heard people say about Rick Ross that, hey, this guy doesn't take care of his artists. And then I've heard, yeah, there's moments where he takes care of his artists. But every big artist gets an accusation of, hey, I didn't, promote this guy, or, hey, you didn't pay me enough, or I didn't get paid this. A lot of big artists, or pretty much every big artist, have been accused of that in one way or another. It's happened to Jay-Z, Eminem, 50, Kanye. Any artist that has signed other artists has been accused of that. T.I. with Hustle Gang, with Iggy Azalea, and B.O.B. to a certain extent. Any artist, like I said, that has signed other artists has been accused of that. To a certain extent, 50 was getting blamed for Kid not blowing up. And he was like, I did everything, man. I made records with you, this and that. And Kid at a certain point was frustrated with that and saying, hey, why don't you, blow me up? But sometimes just people don't gravitate towards the music like that, or, there's not really that big of a budget put behind you. But if the music's like really, really that good, like in terms of like, because you got to make crossover music. You can't just make, gangsta music and expect to blow up, right? And the problem with Gunplay is his name is Gunplay. Like, it's hard to blow up that name. It's not a very marketable name. Gunplay is just like ridiculous. Imagine a name Gunplay being famous. like in terms of like on an A status level. Like imagine him going to the Grammys as Gunplay. It's very, very hard to promote that. You know, Lefty Gunplay made it to the Grammys because of Kendrick Lamar, not because of any other reason. Lefty Gunplay would have never been to the Grammys. Never in a million years. Because that name is not marketable, face tattooed up, and so on and so forth. So I don't know who to blame with this, but I know Gunplay is hurt of the situation because he's probably held it down for Ross, as we saw with the G-Unit situation. And, you know, that a falling out, and Ross is just laughing at the situation. He learned well from Diddy, the guy who's, you know, looped up artists and did horrible things to them in terms of contracts and stuff like that. He's learned from Diddy. So that's my take on it. And I think, you know, we don't know the full details. So taking each side, you can't really do that. But I get where Gunplay's coming from because it is frustrating. Speaking of Rick Ross, a.k.a. William Roberts, here's something that is very funny. And this is just going to flat out reveal, and everybody knows this, that 50 Cent is the bigger artist than Rick Ross. So Rick Ross goes on TMZ and uses 50's name to promote his 20th anniversary tour for his debut album, Port of Miami. Yes, he has a 20th anniversary tour for that album. Now, we know 50 made a 20th anniversary tour for Get Rich or Die Trying, The Final Lap. That did, I think he went on 105 cities, or 103 cities, and made $105 million off his tour. Now, these 103 cities was not just in the United States of America. It was across the world. So 103 cities across the world. He basically got every place in America that was major and then went to Europe, and I believe different parts that I can't remember, but 103 cities, made $105 million. At that time, he was in the top 3 highest grossing tours in hip-hop of all time. Now I think he's like number 6 or 7 after, you know, Kendrick had his tours, you know, and all these other people. Regardless, Rick Ross had to go to TMZ to promote this shitty tour by dissing 50 to get eyes on this tour because he's worried it's probably not going to sell. So check out this tour, right? He announces the tour, and these are the dates on the tour. This is the funniest shit like ever, bro. The funniest shit ever. So these are the dates. It starts out on May 29th in Miami. He then goes June 12th to Atlanta, then goes to Augusta, and so on and so forth. Let me count these dates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 fucking dates for the 20th anniversary of his debut album. 17 dates only in the United States of America. And this is the last time this guy has ever headlined a tour. Has been years. I think 10 years. And you mean to tell me, and there's people who say that this guy is anywhere near close to 50 musically. I don't give a fuck about your opinion and what you think who makes the better music. This guy, his Port of Miami album, by the way, struggled to go platinum. It took streaming services to be activated as sales for his album to finally reach platinum status, his debut album. This guy is nowhere near 50's level. This guy's doing 17 fucking dates in America for his 20th anniversary, while 50 did 103 cities. And anybody talking about that shit of Ross is this, Ross is that, this is clear as day. I was waiting for this because I was going to see, hey, man, Ross is this big talk that he's relevant musically, that he's, you know, check the scoreboard. You remember that in the Breakfast Club interview? Check the scoreboard. Well, here, this is my point. You could potentially win a battle. Yeah, you could say, oh, Ross won in the battle of 50, but look at the war. Look at the longevity. Don't nobody give a fuck about Rick Ross's music like that. And watch, oh, I bump Rick Ross music. Rick Ross is a legend, blah, blah. Look at the numbers. The numbers don't show that. And that's the facts. The numbers are the facts. Your opinion is just your opinion. This tour is the facts. That's only 17 dates. Maybe he'll probably add 3 or 4 just to make it 20, you know, to even that out, the number out. But Jeezy did more on his debut album because Jeezy's the bigger fucking artist. Ross was always overhyped. Ross never reached the status of 50, never reached the status of Drake, never reached the status of Lil Wayne. He was just surrounded by them. Not 50, but, you know, French Montana with that Pop Dad. He was always with records with Lil Wayne and Drake. He was just surrounded by them. Never reached the status of Kanye. This is a person who has no momentum, goes on TMZ, disses 50 on TMZ, his dead mother again, just to try to get momentum for this shitty-ass tour because he's worried it's probably not going to sell. That's the reality of the situation. We'll see what these numbers do on these tours. Will he actually sell these dates? Because from the looks of it, from what I'm seeing, it looks like he's just touring the East Coast. He ain't going to the West Coast at all. Miami, Atlanta, Augusta, Jacksonville, Houston, San Antonio, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Detroit, Orlando. Phoenix is one part in the West Coast. Denver. That's really about it. Everything else is in the East Coast. If you want to count Dallas and Houston on the West Coast, which people don't. They usually count the East Coast. So, yeah, he's got 2 dates on the West Coast. That's it. He's not even putting Los Angeles there because nobody's probably going to fucking check for him over there. But, yeah, William Roberts, you cop. This shit is dookie water. Just want to let you know that. Continuing on, speaking of Drake a little bit earlier, Drake has these new leaked songs that came out, and it's clear as day he's dissing Kendrick Lamar. So let's go over these bars. On these leaked tracks, he rhymes this, Serena, but I'm cool with Venus. So he's basically dissing Serena Williams, saying, hey, making these little planet double entendres. I be hanging around those guys like I'm Dua Lipa. I might hit up fucking Schoolboy Q and do a remix. Because you put your guys on, but they making peanuts. We don't ever piece it up, the shit we got between us, he raps. So here he's saying, hey, I might hit up Schoolboy Q and do a remix for him just to help him get some money because your homies, TDE, the people that you help put on, they're not making no money. They're making peanuts. And then he says, hey, we don't ever piece it up, the shit we got between us. So he's basically saying this beef is forever going. And yeah, that's the leak. But the problem that I don't really like about this Drake stuff that's going on with these leaks is I feel like Drake is like testing the waters and seeing how people are going to react to these records because he doesn't want to drop ICEMAN and have it do bad. So he's been dropping these records and the momentum really hasn't been there. Because on ICEMAN, he previewed these songs that they've just came and went, man. The Which One record with Central C, like just nobody's even playing it anymore. Nobody gives a shit about that song. There's been a few records that just haven't performed well at all. What Did I Miss is probably the best performing record off so far that he's previewed off the album. And I'm pretty sure that won't even make it on the album because it's been such a long time since he released that I'm sure he's got other music that he wants to put on this album. So I think these leaks are coming out just as tests, but hey, it's clear as day there's probably going to be subliminal shots at Kendrick Lamar on this album, and everybody's going to nitpick it. And this Drake and Kendrick thing is just, it's just never ending. The stands on each side have gone astronomically insane. They nitpick at everything. So that beef might be one of the worst beefs that's happened in hip-hop. But, hey, that's the leak, and that's the bars. And, yeah. This hurts me to my core as a G-Unit fan. 50 has decided to go at Young Buck once again, unprovoked. Buck has been minding his own business, celebrating his birthday, and 50 decides to, just throw a shot towards him. And it's unfortunate. So let's go over what exactly happened. 50 posted an image of Dukes of Hazzard. If you're not aware of that show, it's basically like a cowboy, cars. And I'm not too familiar with it. I think it was popping in the 70s. But it's a show relating with cowboys and sheriffs and cars and, whatever. Stuff surrounding that, right? And he posted that AI image, and it's 50, Yayo, and then a girl in the middle. And this girl is Brorilla, which is Glorilla's sister. And 50 posted that, and then the caption said, I used to love Dukes of Hazzard back in the day. They threw bro up in there. Homie, you made it. And he's referring to T.I. Towards the end, you see T.I. as a sheriff, police officer because, of the Crime Stopper stuff, right? This was posted because, and this is the crazy thing, this is like a subliminal towards Young Buck because Young Buck posted on his Instagram of him riding a horse for his birthday. He posted various videos about it and just enjoying his birthday, right? So this was the first subliminal towards Buck. And then Brorilla responded to that post and was hyped that, 50 posted her. And the crazy thing is this is where 50 decides to take the shot towards Young Buck. And the caption said, they mad because you up. Young Buck kicked out you in the group. At least I know you ain't looking at my ass, LOL. And this is, the diss of, Young Buck getting caught with that, transgender girl and, that whole thing that happened. So he's taking a shot at Buck relating to that stuff. Then from there, Buck responds. He goes on Instagram Live. He's having fun, celebrating his birthday. And he says that 50 is a sucker and that he's already paid him his money, so you can't do anything to me anymore. You can't keep me, basically saying you can't keep me in a contract. And then he says, grow up, stop with the social media antics and all this stuff. And one thing he says in the clip is go out in your city in Queens and, can you go out in your community and stuff like that? And I'll talk about that after we watch this video.
This is my neighborhood. I got to tell it, man, you be worried about talking about this and that. Man, listen, man, do this. What's up, homie? Love.
No security.
Yeah, come through your own neighborhood.
No security.
Go to where you from and just walk through that motherfucker and enjoy where you come from. And I just be sitting back and watching, man, how been trying to manipulate these fans' minds until the bull come to an end and they catch up with you. Now you got kids all over you. You can't even do nothing with the man's children. So you want to just start trolling different folks and this and that. Man, come on, man. The gig is up, man. God damn, how much trolling and sucker shit you gonna do before you do something, sucker? You ain't gonna do a goddamn thing. All that old bluff. Keep that shit up there. For real down here. On my mama. From here to the A, and then it's real up there too. You dealing with them real up there, they on you. But quit trolling and playing with me. I'm a real life street, real life. Your gig is up, the laughs is over with. Now they see what it really been, not what it is. It's been this for me. In my neighborhood, where you from, walk to your neighborhood, get some respect. Go to your neighborhood, we want to see you walk around Queens. Go walk around Queens, my God Brewer, no security. We want to see what your life like. You so goddamn tough. You and any who follow you too. 100. This the Cadville way. You got us all the way up. Go play with your kids, sucker. Get money. It's my C-Day. And I ain't signed to your no more. And I don't owe you a quota. Paid you in all 50s. Poor pitted.
With Buck saying the stuff about, 50 should go out in the community and stuff, I disagree because there's certain levels to fame, right? And that's not no disrespect to Young Buck because, he's reached a certain level of fame as well and he attracts attention. I was there when I was, hanging out with Buck. I saw a lot of people, wanting to be surrounded by him, talk to him, all this stuff. So he has a certain level of fame as well. But 50's level of fame is huge. If he were to walk out just randomly in Queens, like the whole city would shut down. That's been proven multiple times over every time he's done that. It's the same argument that Benzino made with me of like, oh, Eminem should be walking out in Detroit. Eminem should be out with the culture and stuff like that. Like, it's hard for Benzino to grasp how big of fame and level Eminem is at. He can't just go out and walk out. It's like Michael Jackson. He couldn't just go out and walk out and do his thing. So that's the same thing with 50, right? He's at a level of fame where you can't just go out and walk out in your community. And 50's been, in his hood multiple times. Obviously with security because he's just that level of famous where he has to have some type of buffer from the people to him. Buck hasn't, he's been that level of fame at his peak, but he's not at that level of fame right now. So it's easier for him to move around. But 50 posted that video, Buck saying that, and he said, LOL, look at this punk ass guy. We know you like them boys, Buck. Brorilla like the girls. That's a better fit around here, punk. And then he put another comment, said, you in your hood because you broke, boy. LOL. And then, yeah, you even commented saying, we be in Southside all the time laughing. This hurts me because it's like, I want to see a G-Unit reunion. I hate when 50 just takes these pot shots at Buck. And hell, I can understand the Buck situation, right? There was a lot of issues. Buck has gone and hanged out with 50's ops. Money was owed, tax situation, a bunch of things with Buck, right? So I kind of understand the pot shots towards Buck and the disrespect in public towards Buck. Unprovoked, I don't get it. I think that's corny. I don't like that he just unprovoked, just goes at Buck. Like even in my interview, Buck showed love to 50. So he's always showed love. He even said recently that 50 would beat T.I. in a versus. Like he's always showed love to 50. And 50 just randomly decides to disrespect him. So I disagree with that, right? But I can kind of understand it with the Buck, because with Buck, it's like there's a history there that's publicly noted, and Buck's done a lot of stuff where it's like, hey, he's going with the ops. Makes sense. The one I don't ever understand, and I will forever disagree with 50 on, is going at Banks. That's never made sense to me. Banks has always shown love. He's never gone to the ops. He's always, respected 50, never publicly disrespected him. So the disrespect towards Banks never made sense to me, and I've always find that corny. So that's kind of the situation with, how I feel about 50 disrespecting these two guys who are part of G Unit and have helped build the G Unit brand to a certain extent, right? So 50 continues after that and posts a video of some guy talking about, Buck liking, transgenders and stuff like that. And he posts in the caption, just listen, them people, boy, you a mook, knock it off, no reunion, F that, Glorilla on the next tour, I'll F around and put him in my new show, The Accomplice. So, I just, I don't get the constant attack towards a Buck. And Buck hasn't responded to that yet, at least. I don't think he will. I think Buck doesn't really, Buck should just ignore it. At this point, he should just ignore it because really it's been the same conversation over and over again. And it's been the same type of disrespect. Like I said, I disagree with it. But that's the back and forth with Young Buck and 50. I met Buck in person. Really cool, genuine guy. Obviously 50 spent a lot more time with him on business and all kinds of different stuff, so he knows Buck more than I would ever know him, right? But my impression of him, real solid guy, real cool guy. Doesn't seem like he's, oh, I'm a celebrity, I'm this crazy, like very chill, just cool guy, respectful and all this stuff. So I always find, when 50 goes at, G Unit original artists, it's just, I never like it. I want a reunion. And the reason why I want a reunion is because I was a kid when these guys were in their prime. And I actually seen some comments about this. Is like, damn, I'm 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, whatever now. And I would love to see, G Unit perform because I never got to see them as a kid. And, we'll never get that because of these little antics back and forth that 50 does, which I disagree with all the time. Never supported it. So that's my take on the Buck situation. Buck should just ignore it. And 50, come on, man. Don't, taking pot shots at a guy who's minding his own business, celebrating his birthday. All it does is this proves that 50 watches Buck and sees what he does. Like he's watching him consistently. Because why would you, randomly just disrespect Buck out of this whole thing that's going on? So I can kind of understand when people are like, 50 just needs to chill out and stop, taking random shots at people. I agree to a certain extent. It's like, the other people, they started it first, like with Maino, Fabolous, the whole Brady bunch, whatever. They started it first. With T.I., I think he started as well because he's constantly asking for a verses, and 50's like, dude, just leave me alone. So a lot of instances, it's other people starting it first. But with this Buck thing, it's like, yeah, the root cause of it can be, Buck starting it first, but, it's been two years, 3 years. They haven't gone back and forth. Buck's just celebrating his birthday. Why just like, throw a pot shot at him? But hey, that's 50. That's always been him, so it is what it is. But let me know what you guys think. Papoose, man. This is a guy who is going back and forth with 50 Cent right now, and a guy who, quote unquote, dissed me, or at least I was tagged by a lot of people saying that Papoose dissed me. So let's go over where he dissed me at, why I think, it can be a diss towards me, but more of a generalization. And then I kind of want to go over what's going on with the 50 and Papoose thing, kind of a little bit of the history. Papoose dropped a diss track titled Agent Provocateur. And if you go over this diss track, really the bars are just the same stuff that everyone else has rapped about. 50 didn't get shot 9 times. If it wasn't for Eminem, he would never have a career. You only got one good album. Your baby mama got, done on by Diddy. Majority of this track is just the same regurgitation of what other rappers has said towards 50. Nothing new. So this track didn't really do anything for me. The bars are pretty decent, but That's it. If anything, it proved 50's point that Papoose can't write a hit record. He's just about bars. What he should have done, dissing 50, is actually wrote a hit record. Have, a hook, a verse dissing, a hook, a verse dissing, a hook, right? And try to make it catchy. That would have been better than just straight up rapping for 5 minutes, because 5 minutes of bars, it's pretty cool, but I really don't care. I'm not that invested in Papoose music to really care about what he's rapping about in these 5 minutes of bars. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. The views, they're good for him, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. They're pretty good for him, but at the end of the day, the rest of his music gets no views. Nobody really cares. It's just the name that's attached to it, which is 50 Cent. Let's go over the bars where people were tagging me saying that he's dissing me, because I have the biggest platform when it comes to someone who supports 50 Cent. I have the biggest platform. It's clear that I'm, a fan of his, a fan of Eminem, a fan of the whole Shady Aftermath, G-Unit stuff. So, people were tagging me because I have the biggest platform relating to that, and I've always made documentaries relating to 50, G-Unit, Eminem, all this stuff. So people were, more tagging me than anybody else, but he doesn't directly say my name, Quake, or doesn't say Diverse Mentality. He just says YouTubers. So I fall under that category to a certain extent because I am a YouTuber, but I also have a media company with Diverse Mentality. So let's go over these bars. He says, YouTubers working for him if he gives them a chance. Some of them will literally suck his dick through his pants. I can see straight through him why these idiots can't. He promising them he gonna do a bunch of shit that he can't. All right, so the first bar, YouTubers working for him if he gives them a chance. I mean, bro, we're content creators. We make our own money. We have our own business. We don't need anybody to pay us to work for them. Yeah, would it be cool to get an extra bonus of money? But, I run my own media company. I do my own thing. Nobody pays me to do anything. And that's the beautiful part about what I do. I don't have to listen to anybody. Now, I did a while ago have an offer from a record label to buy out my company and then to hire me to post whatever they suggested. And I turned it down. It was the most money I've ever seen in my life. But, the reason why I love doing this is I have the freedom to do whatever I want. So, making these claims that people get paid behind the scenes and all this stuff, I'm sure it happens, but I don't need money to be, having to do what I do like this. I already make money enough with what I do, right? So that's a dumb claim that a lot of people actually have accused me of being, oh, you're getting paid by G-Unit and this and that. Like, bro, I'm a fan of an artist. I support that artist. It's that simple. Whether I hate an artist, support them, they're going to be like, oh, if you hate an artist or you don't really like an artist, not really hate. I mean, the only one I've ever trolled and hate is Rick Ross. But if you don't like an artist, they're going to be like, oh, you're a hater. If you like an artist and be like, oh, you're a D-writer and stuff like that. So there you go. It's just, there's no balance in that, right? So then he says, some of them will literally suck his dick through his pants. See what I'm talking about? Like, you support an artist. Oh my God, you're a dick rider. You're doing all this. You can't even support an artist without somebody throwing shit like that at you. But that's the internet. I don't expect it from a rapper in the bars because he's supposed to be living more in reality. But this is Papoose for you that we're talking about. I can see straight through him why these idiots can't. He promised them he's going to do a bunch of shit that he can't. Once again, on my end, I don't need anybody to promise me to do anything or to provide me with anything. Like I said, this is why I built Diverse Mentality the way I built it. It solely relies on me in terms of content. I don't have to have an artist come and do an interview. I don't have to have an artist co-sign me. I don't have to have any of that. I still can build my company, do my thing. And that's the beautiful part about it. This is a podcast. You guys see guests all the time. It's just me talking through this podcast for the most part. So yeah, that's the, me addressing those bars and whatever he's saying. But it was a generalization. People were just tagging me because I am the biggest creator when it comes to 50 Cent related stuff. So people were tagging me, but that's a generalization. He's going at whatever YouTuber he feels is, supporting 50. Now, let me talk directly to you, Papoose. You've had a music career since 1998. You started with Cool G Rap's Roots of Evil album. It took you legitimately 6 years to finally drop your debut single. That's how slow your career is moving off the jump. And that's fine, right? When you start a career, you can start, slow and then eventually skyrocket. But with you, you've never skyrocketed. You've never had a hit record. The only time I've ever heard of you where people mention you on a song is the Busta Rhymes Touch It remix, your verse on there, which was dope. That's it. Outside of that, nobody can name a single album. Nobody can name singles. They just know that you rap nice. And that's it. Your career has been a struggle since 1998. We are in 2026. That is roughly 28 years. You are 48 years old and have not had a single hit record. That's a failed career, Papoose. That is a failed career. You have relied on Remy Ma to take care of you. Maybe your girlfriend now to take care of you. I don't know all that backstory, but what I do know is the facts of you not having a hit record. Now, let me school you with these YouTubers and content creators. I'm 30 years old, and I have a company that's probably generated more than you can even imagine when it comes to your career. And I'm going to prove it to you. Here's my challenge to you, Papoose. I, on Facebook alone, have generated 70 million views, just on Facebook alone. Don't count the Instagram, don't count X, don't count Snapchat, don't count YouTube, don't count any of these other platforms. Just on Facebook alone, I've generated 70 million views. You, I bet, have never generated 70 million views in a month on any of your platforms at all. I'm pretty sure even on your streaming, in which you got on your Spotify streaming, you only have 115,000 monthly listeners. I have more of that on YouTube without even trying. So here's my challenge to you. Papoose, if you can prove to me that you have generated more than 70 million views in a single month, I will promote your music for free for a whole year. Yep, that's it. You get free promotion from me. And you're going to want it because I'm going to explain why you're going to want it a little bit later. Grab your Instagram analytics, grab your Facebook analytics, grab your X analytics, grab your Instagram analytics. Combine them all. I'll let you have 4 platforms versus me with 1. And I bet you're not over 70 million. I guarantee it. If I beat you, you know what happens? You're going to be promoting me for a whole year. Every day I want to see it on your Instagram page. Every day I want to see it on your Facebook. It doesn't have to be every day. Let's just do once or twice a week. You're going to share my videos on your platforms. I don't think it's really going to help me, but hey, this is a fair exchange. I'm going to prove to you why I am better at promoting your music than you are yourself on your own platforms. This is how bad you are at promoting your own music. And this is why it took me a couple of days to respond to this, because I wanted to see for myself, is this really the case? That I am better at promoting Papoose's own music. Here's the study that I ran. When you dropped your Agent Provocateur music video, I gave you about 3 to 4 hours leeway, and I took that video and uploaded it on my Facebook. The full video, just like how you did on YouTube. I uploaded the full video on Facebook, and guess what? I doubled, nearly tripled your views of what you did on your own music. Here's the numbers. I did 1.7 million, almost 1.8 million since March 11th, which is roughly 5 days as of the recording of this video. And what's funny is it took me a little while longer to record this, but in the first 3 days, I was tripling, nearly quadrupling your views. Obviously, over time, maybe you're going to pass me in views because you are actually Papoose and that's your fan base. This is my first time actually posting your music on my page. Without even trying, I nearly tripled your views. Let's go on YouTube where you have the best views on this video. Let's see where you're at. On YouTube, the video is at 956,000 views, about to be 1 million. I already surpassed 1 million a couple days ago with your own music. This is how bad you are at promoting your own music. This is why you haven't had a fucking hit ever in your life. When somebody who's never posted your music does better than you at posting your own music, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And this is why you have no hit records. Your career has been struggling for roughly 28 years because you don't know how to even engage or how to even do anything with your career, with your music. It's been flopping for so long. That's really embarrassing for somebody who's never posted your music to do better with views than you have on your own music. And not to mention followers. On your Facebook, you have 1.5 million followers. At the time when I posted that video, I only had 90,000 followers on the Facebook because we just started our Facebook and we're building it up. I have literally 16 times less followers than you on Facebook, 16 times. And on Instagram, you got 2.8 million followers, and you still got less views. You go on Instagram, you look at his reels. His recent one with the video, where he uploaded the full video, 124,000 views, nothing. The first post that he ever made on it, 415,000 views. And this guy has 2.8 million followers. I did more. I almost matched his followers with my post with way less followers. This is my point, is you suck. You don't know how to promote your music. The music is dookie water. So when you're clowning YouTubers and saying this and that, know that we are the algorithm. Like 50 says, we know how to use the algorithm. You don't. And I just proved my fucking point without even trying. I did 3 times reviews without even fucking trying. I don't think I have any followers that are interested in Papoose music. You have your core fan base, and you still can't beat me in views. We are the algorithm, and that's just the reality of the situation. You have never been part of the algorithm. If we go over a YouTube channel, I'm not even joking. Go to his last music video that he dropped. Let's go to the last one. 83,000 views in 2 weeks. Nobody cared. When you mention 50, you're about to reach 1 million views in 4 days. And this is my point, is these guys that are dissing 50, that are going at 50, they are irrelevant. They don't even know how to get attention online or to monetize or to how to properly turn what they do with music into a proper business. And then they wonder why they're broke, why Remy Ma's paying for shit, why, things are happening where they get houses foreclosed on. This is my point. This is what this is the whole situation of this 50 and Papoose thing, is Papoose is nowhere near the level of a 50. 50 knows how to use the algorithm and doesn't even need it. That's the funny part. He's got so much money, he can just leave and never post online ever again, and nothing will ever change in his life. So next time, before you think about dissing YouTubers, content creators, and stuff like that, know that we are the algorithm. It's better to be with us than against us. And this is my full proof of that. I posted your own music video and did more views than you and your own audience with 10, 15, 20 times more followers. This is why 50 Cent says he is the algorithm, because it's smart, and he is. You're getting way more attention than you ever have had in your career. So thank you, 50, like Yayo says. Thank you, 50. Go thank him, and thank me for boosting your music to levels that it has never seen before. Now let's go over a little bit of the history of what's going on with Papoose and 50. After dropping that Agent Provocateur track, 50 went on Instagram and posted a meme of 50 like pointing at a whiteboard saying 1 rap career plus 25 years plus 0 hits equals Papoose. And that's true. This guy's been rapping for so long, he's got no fucking hits. And the caption said, "You make 1 hit record and I'll respond. Until then, go hang out boyfriend with your boyfriend. I mean girlfriend, LOL." So he took a little pot shot at, Papoose's girlfriend, Clarissa Shields. Then he continued and said, "Very, very handsome. Hey, Pap, ask your old lady Clarissa if she's fucking Maserati Bud. Tell her to be honest because I have Ring camera videos." Now, Maserati Bud is one of 50's associates or friends, and this then led to a whole rabbit hole of Maserati Bud revealing text messages that he and Clarissa had, of him staying over at Clarissa's house, which is, who knows what happened then, and just all kinds of stuff. She denies it. She said, because 50 shared a screenshot of like Maserati at, her house, and she was like, "This is my biopic premiere of the Fire Inside movie that came out Christmas Day." She laughed and said, "This is all you got." 50 then responded, said, "No, you just got off the phone with him. Don't play with me." And then 50 revealed more text messages, more back and forths. And then Clarissa said that she's basically willing to sue 50 because she's, for defamation and accusing, of cheating and all this stuff when, she says it's not true. So this route that 50's taken is going to hurt Papoose more because this then makes Papoose question their relationship. Is it real? Is it fake? Is he getting cheated on? Because with the Remy Ma situation, a lot of that happened as well. So if that happens in this situation, 50 took the route of, hey, instead of music, because you're not relevant musically at all, let me actually get at you where it actually hurts. And I'm sure Papoose is questioning, his decision in dissing 50 in this whole situation. Papoose responded on his Instagram page quite a few times. I'm not going to go over every single one. He posted an old Floyd Mayweather post of Floyd Mayweather saying 50 has herpes and all this stuff. He posted YouTubers reacting to his song, going crazy. That's when he loves YouTubers, is when they're actually on his side. He'll fuck with YouTubers when they are on his side. But whenever somebody goes against him, they're dick suckers, they're rioters, they're this and that, So that's the funny part about this. He posted old videos of 50 talking about, Vivica and doing stuff with her and, the same old. A lot of this stuff has been the same type of posts. Nothing new that we haven't seen. With 50, 50's been revealing things that people haven't, heard. Like with the Jim Jones thing, he revealed, he's possibly getting evicted. So that gets more attention. When it's new stuff, people, are more engaged. When it's old stuff that people have already seen, heard about, nobody really cares and everybody moves on. And that's really what's been happening with everybody going at 50. They're just mentioning the same things over and over again. Oh, you only got one good album. Oh, the only reason you're hot is because, or whatever. The only reason you popped off is because, you got shot 9 times and you're assigned to Eminem. The same old narratives that we've heard millions of times. So that's kind of the back and forth that's been happening. And 50's been, going at them more personally with their relationship and making sure he crushes that side of things because, hey man, it's 50. You gotta, if you're gonna go against him, be prepared for people to throw information, and because this is 50, he's a different level than all these guys that are going at him. But that's it with the Papoose and 50 Cent thing. 50, rapping bars with Papoose makes no sense because I just proved it to you guys. This guy can't even muster up views for his own fucking content without mentioning 50. His streams are astronomically low. This guy gets 115,000 streams monthly. I do more than that on this podcast and my Instagram. Any numbers, I do way more than that. On top of that, 50's at 40-something million stream monthly listeners per month without even trying. He hasn't released new music in a long time. So to go back and forth with somebody at that tier of a level just makes absolutely no sense. It's only for people that just don't understand that there's levels to this shit. And there is. Oh, he's a rapper, though. He's supposed to go in the booth. And at a certain extent, it's like, dude, you're a little gnat. You're a little fly. Like, you keep going at me. Who cares at that point? 50 would rather do memes and posts because they're not really worth the time of going into the booth and making diss records. It just doesn't matter at that point, And they're all saying the same shit over and over again. Nobody's really saying anything new. So that's my take on the Papoose and 50 thing. And yeah, Papoose, that's the challenge, man. If you can prove to me that you've gotten 70 million impressions in the last 30 days on your content, I will promote your music for free for a whole year. Anything that you want, man, I'll promote it for free. Until you can prove that, I've just proved that you can't promote your own music career properly, and that's why you haven't had a hit in 28 years in your career. The only thing people know you for is Busta Rhymes' Touch It remix in that verse. 5 boroughs of death, you don't understand. I got New York City in the palm of my hand. That's it. Nobody knows you for anything outside of that. So that's it, and let me know what you guys think. Let's get into it. New music. Jack Harlow dropped his Monica album, in which he's approaching the R&B style, so I guess check that out. Chief Keefe and Ian dropped a video shoot track. James Blake dropped Trying Times, YG State of Emergency, Boss Man D-Lo, Motion Party, the Tupac, and that's it for new music. Album sales. Harry Styles at number 1 with Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally. Wow. Number 1 debut with 424,000 sold the first week. Great numbers, man. Bruno Mars, number 2 at The Romantic with 79,000. Morgan Wallen, number 3 with I'm the Problem, 74,000. Bad Bunny, number 4 with 65,000. Don Toliver, Octane, number 5 with 60,000. Olivia Dean, number 6 with The Art of Lovin', 57,000. Number 7, Megan Moroney, Cloud 9 with 41,000. Number 8, Taylor Swift, The Life of a Showgirl, 38,000. Number 9, Morgan Wallen, One Thing at a Time, 36,000. And number 10, SZA, SOS, 35,000. J. Cole, The Fall Off, number 15 with 29,000. Going down the list, Drake, Take Care, number 24 with 24,000. Michael Jackson, number 1's, number 27 with 23,000. Cardi B, Am I Drama, number 31 with 22,000. That's probably going to climb up slowly because she's touring, so she's promoting the album. Baby Keem, number 36 with Casino at 19,000. Drake, Views, number 40 with 18,000. NBA Youngboy, Slime Cry, number 42 with 18,000. Party Next Door and Drake, Some Sexy Songs for You, number 43 with 18,000. and Eminem Curtain Call, number 49, with 16,000 sold. So that is it for new music and album sales. And that is it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. As always, appreciate you guys streaming Spotify, Deezer, Podcast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to this, and peace.